There we go. Okay, so today is our monthly new partner introduction, sales and solution. Basically, this is just going to be a high-level overview of um, basically all the different products we offer. This is something what we've ran into in the past was we'd meet partners, you know, go out and visit them, run into them at a show, and we'd always hear, wait, do you have this type of product? Or I didn't know you guys made those. So today's presentation is just supposed to sort of give you a high-level overview of what we've got, explain some of the basics, give you some ideas. So hopefully there'll be something in there that jogs you and you go, hey, wait a minute, I could use that. And then just let us know. We've got other more in-depth webinars that we do. We're doing webinars, trying to do 2 a week right now. So we've got that. If there's something in there that you see today that we don't have a webinar scheduled for, let your try know or your salesperson. And we can see about maybe putting together a webinar on that topic to go a little bit more in depth there for you. This is my first time using this. This is a brand new slide deck, so I apologize if it's a little bit rougher than usual. I know I'm not the greatest presenter to begin with and might make things even that much more rough. So first slide here, just a little background on who we are as a company. We realize we are not a household name. We are not Cisco. We are not even Netgear as far as name recognition goes. But we've been doing this for a long time. We've been doing this since 1989, making computer networking equipment. We started off in the early days of dial-up bulletin boards and things like that. We were doing 802.11 wireless before there was 802.11a and b, when it was just simply 802.11. We've got over 100 million devices deployed out in the field. We serve 150 different markets. So the reason you got invited to this is because you have joined our partner program, or at least you should have joined our partner program. So just some of the things here just to dwell on is, you know, support is done out of our US office, or in this case right now, being out of the homes of our employees. But once the coronavirus thing gets taken care of, it'll move back into our Anaheim headquarters. So when you call in for support, you are dealing with Zycel employees. It is not a third-party call center. It is not an overseas call center. You are talking to someone at our US office. We offer deal registration and partner discounts as long as you hit our sales goals, which are pretty achievable. Most of our business class products offer a lifetime warranty. So our channel products are broken down into a couple different categories here. Our security appliances, wireless solutions, switches, hotspot gateways, and network management solutions. So we'll be touching a little bit on each of these as we go through today. We're going to start with security. This is probably some of where people get the most confusion. We've got a huge different range of products with a lot of overlap. So one thing I want to highlight is for 20 years now in a row, we have been certified by the ICSA labs for firewall and VPN. So this used to be an independent company. They're now part of Verizon these days, but they offer third-party independent testing of different security solutions to verify that they provide the level of security that is claimed and is appropriate for business use. So when it comes to UTM services, we do things a little bit differently than most of our competition. Most of our competition is trying to be an antivirus, an IDP, content filtering. They're trying to do all of that in-house. So what we've done instead is we've partnered with leaders in these industries and used them to help power our UTM solutions. So whether it's Webroot, Bitdefender, Trend Micro, etc., that is whose signatures and databases we are using. So just some general security functionality you'll find across our different products here. VPN high availability, WAN load balancing, multiple WANs, ability to do load balancing, failover, however you want to do it. We have what's called a virtual tunnel interface, allowing you to trunk different VPNs together to help with load balancing. We have our SSL VPN, so for easy remote access for users on their laptops. L2TP over IPsec for mobile phones. We have an easy VPN button for making it really easy to set up VPN connections. And then we also have SHA-2 VPN. for doing site-to-site VPNs. When it comes to UTM services, we offer antivirus, content filtering, including content filtering of SSL encrypted websites. We have the ability to do what's called layer 7 application intelligence. So this allows us to actually be able to create firewall rules based on applications and individual functions within those applications. So instead of having to know port numbers and IP ranges and stuff, you can literally just pull up a drop-down menu and select the application or the feature of the application that you want to set up policy rules for. GeoEnforcer. On the ATP line of things, we offer sandboxing and machine learning. We've got botnets and malware blockers, IDP intrusion protection, reputation filters. Also, most of our security appliances have a built-in wireless LAN controller, which will manage most of our different models of wireless access points. So you don't need a separate wireless LAN controller. We also have the ability to add hotspot management. So it's the type of guest hotspot access you would find at a coffee shop, find in a hotel, or maybe you're just looking to offer guest access for people who visit your customers, you know, visiting salespeople, clients, things like that. Some other stuff we offer here is link aggregation groups. So you can set up link aggregation groups to give yourself better capacity. We have two different types of high availability, regular high availability, now free high availability pro. SSL packet inspection, allowing us to enforce rules and content filtering even over encrypted connections. And we have Radius and Active Directory integration. We also have something kind of cool here. We're finding more and more people are moving their applications to either AWS or Microsoft's Azure cloud-based systems and running their mail servers there, running other applications there. So we have our gateways are certified with both AWS and with Microsoft to be able to create a private VPN connection to the cloud for a private cloud. So instead of your traffic going out over the public internet to reach the cloud and then coming back, it is fully secured and encrypted with a site, it's essentially a site-to-site VPN from your customer site directly to your private cloud, keeping everything safe and secure and away from prying eyes. So we'll start by talking about our VPN series. So our VPN series of firewall appliances in general do not offer UTM capability. Instead, the code is optimized to be able to support a large number of VPN connections. They do offer the built-in wireless LAN controller. They do offer content filtering, device high availability. And with a license, you can convert most of these over into an SD-WAN product. So as we go through these, I'm not going to go through a lot of the individual models. In fact, I've removed these slides from some of the other series. The main thing I want to highlight here is when we're talking about our VPN, or excuse me, our security appliances, the main difference as you go through the different models is the number of ports they have, whether those ports are LAN or WAN, and then just their performance. Whether we're talking here, you know, SPI firewall throughput, VPN throughput, those are your main differences. So when you're going out there, that's primarily what you're looking at. How fast does this firewall gateway need to be? And that'll help you determine which device you need to buy, whether it's something on the low end or something on the higher end. So SD-WAN, for those of you not familiar with SD-WAN, SD-WAN is primarily being seen as something that allows you to use the public internet, your regular broadband connections, instead of leasing a dedicated private connection between multiple locations. So some of the things that SD-WAN helps solve, you know, as we've talked about before, more and more stuff is moving into the cloud, including private cloud. People need reliable internet with low latency, faster connectivity. You've got a nice fast LAN, but your WAN connection is really slow. Improve security, scalability, and obviously trying to reduce costs, right? If you want to throw money at stuff, you can solve anything, but most people don't have a lot of money to throw at things. On the VAR side of things, you're trying to maximize what connectivity is available at the customer location or what they're willing to pay for, giving you easier control over deployment and management, reducing complexity, removing bottlenecks, and helping you deal with network diversity, the different types of connections each location may have. So when you convert a VPN appliance over into an SD-WAN appliance, you get zero-touch provisioning. You get dynamic path selection, where we real-time monitor the path quality and automatically put data across the different, whichever path is currently fastest. WAN optimization makes a huge difference in your performance. We still offer content filtering on these devices. We offer application intelligence for setting up your policy routes in QoS, and the ability to do a mesh VPN. So to give some examples of that, here is your traditional multi-site connection. In this case here, we're going site to site to site. So what we're doing here with SD-WAN, by using SD-WAN, we're optimizing TCP acceleration. We're doing stuff that optimizes your latency. We do things that help solve packet loss issues. And we allow you to prioritize bandwidth over these connections based on the individual application. So Nebula Orchestrator makes it really easy to automatically generate these different connections. Simply go in, choose the different sites, and it will take care of all the configuration on the back end for you. We'll create multiple connections following different paths over the internet. So if one of those connection paths has issues, we'll automatically switch the traffic over to the other connection path. In the case of situations where, say, this location here is trying to send data to this location here, rather than daisy chain it through your VPN, we have the ability to automatically create a direct VPN connection as needed between the two individual sites. And this is all done seamlessly on the back end. The end users and the data traffic will not see and notice what's going on. There will be no interruption of service. So to give you an example here, we've got a VPN connection between these two locations. Currently getting a 290 millisecond ping time between these two, 0.3% packet loss, 3 millisecond jitter. So without SD-WAN WAN optimization, connecting these two sites together and transferring a 2 gig Ubuntu ISO can take over almost 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, with an average speed of 300 kilobits a second. Because of all the WAN optimization and other stuff that's going on, when using SD-WAN, the time to transfer that same file only takes 10 seconds using SD-WAN, giving you up to 24 megabit per second actual connection. By going to the SD-WAN stuff, you also get access here to hassle-free client VPN. We make it really easy to set up using a script that's automatically emailed to the user that they simply run, and it'll take care of the configuration for them, whether Windows, Mac, or iOS devices. So that's it for SD-WAN. There's obviously a lot more we can go into here. We can give you dedicated presentations just on this. Thank you, Norbert, for the clarification. Thank you. My apologies. So go back to what he was just telling me. We'll go back two slides here. I got the times wrong. My bad. And if I can go back, there we go. Sorry, the animation's slowing down my computer here. 2 hours, 40 minutes for the transfer versus 10 minutes for the transfer, not seconds. My bad. I think I said hours and minutes there, or minutes and seconds when I was doing it. So apologies. Thank you for the correction. Moving on from there, let's talk about the NSG series. These are part of our Nebula solution, and we'll have some dedicated slides talking about Nebula in the coming minutes. So basically the main thing here is that this is giving us simplicity. It's giving you an easier way to do network security, simplified interface, trying to make it easier for you to do. So you lose some of the advanced functionality, the trade-off being it's easier to set up, easier to configure, easier to monitor. So you still get comprehensive management. Um, Auto deploy your gateways. So basically you simply plug them in. Setting up VPNs is super simple. We do have UTM services as part of the Nebula security services, which gets you content filtering, IDP, antivirus. We have our USG series. So this is our primary security gateway series. So with these products here, similar to the VPN series, but these are more focused on security and give you UTM functionality. So these are adding in antivirus, anti-spam, content filtering, IDP, and application control. So with the VPN series, you're getting content filtering and a little bit of the IDP. Here, you're getting everything together in one box, and they're optimized for performance of these UTM services. And you're still getting the wireless LAN controller built in. You still got the hotspot gateway functionality and device high availability. The other series we've got is the ATP series. So these are relatively new. These are our so-called next generation security services. And the main difference here is we're moving to a sandboxing type solution to provide your UTM security. Because we're doing that, the ATP series offers much higher performance than the USG series. So in general, the ATP series is the way to go, but there may be some functionality that you need that's only on the USG series. You can reach out to your salesperson, and we've got a comparison sheet we can always send you. So this is just showing here. Here's the traditional way that UTM services are done, right? You've got different types of packets. These are being compared to a signature database that is either hosted in the cloud or downloaded to the device itself. And basically, the signatures help identify these packets are good, these packets are bad, block them. The problem is you've got a big chunk of stuff here that's just not covered by those signatures. So why is that? One is just, the signature database can only be so big. So it's going to focus primarily on the things that you most often see. The other reason for that is there's constantly new applications, new threats that are coming off that behave differently and have yet to be classified, added to a signature update, and then pushed out to the individual devices. So this is what the ATP series is looking to solve. How to deal with these unknown data packets. So the way we do that has to do with what we call smart cloud intelligence, AKA machine learning, AKA artificial intelligence, however you want to talk about doing this. So basically with an ATP security gateway, all of the ATP security gateways are sort of pooled together virtually through a cloud-based interface. Let's see, maybe I'm missing the slide I thought I had there. So basically what's happening is what we call sandboxing. We see some traffic, we don't know what's going on. We see some packets, some file payloads, we don't know what those are. Your ATP device flags them as, hey, I don't know what this is, captures them and uploads them into the cloud. In the cloud, we run a number of different virtual machines that simulate all sorts of different networks and environments and see what the behavior of those packets are. If we see, hey, that's a new chat app, there's nothing bad going on, we'll go ahead and let your device know, hey, these are good packets, go ahead and let them through. If it's something that's nefarious, we'll go ahead and flag them as malicious so you know not to allow those packets to go through. And because all of the ATP devices deployed out in the field are linked together through this cloud, as soon as one of our ATP devices experiences something, they're able to push out that information to all the other ATP devices. So zero-day exploits are very quickly found, categorized, and automatically pushed out to all the other ATP devices to help them. So moving on from the ATP appliances, let's talk a little bit here about monitoring and reporting when it comes to security. The main product we've got here is what's called SecuReporter. It's a way of taking all the log information from all of your different customers, all of their different sites, and gathering it together in one interface. So you can generate reports, so you can visualize what's going on those networks. Those reports can be sent out to your customers automatically, so you can let them know, hey, look, the firewall blocked all of this. The gateway-based antivirus saw these threats and prevented them, et cetera, et cetera. So you can proactively show your customer what the security gateway is doing for them. Makes it easier in the future to then, when it's time for renewal, to resell them the security services. We've also got some other Secu products to help with deployments and things like that. Although the main one here is Secu Reporter. Secu Reporter also makes it easier for you by putting all of your clients in one spot. So you can quickly and easily log in, see all of your customers, and see what's going on in each individual network. Reports are customizable, including some of the information that's included, how often these emails or these reports are emailed out, who they're emailed out to, and we can include your own logo and stuff in there so they know it's coming from you. So now we'll move on to Nebula, which brings us to Norbert's question here, which is, where is Nebula hosted? Nebula is hosted in AWS. The main bulk of the Nebula services are actually hosted out of Ireland, with some of the other, oh, my mind's going blank here on the word I'm looking for, but some of the other peripheral services being hosted here in North America and elsewhere. The reason we have the bulk of it is hosted in Ireland has to do with EU privacy and security rules. So in order to comply with them, it does have to be hosted there. At the moment, there's no reason for those main services to be hosted in North America, although it's always an option should security or privacy laws change in the future. So Nebula is our cloud managed networking solution, basically taking everything and moving it into the cloud. The idea here of moving it into the cloud is to make your life simpler. It makes setting up your Nebula devices easier, reduces the amount of time it takes to do configuration, reduces the amount of time and complexity of pushing out firmware updates, configuration changes, and things like that. So we'll go on a little bit more in depth into that. Norbert also has one more question. Since it's on AWS, would it be possible to create an instance in GovCloud so we can use it for law enforcement clients? So the answer to that is yes. We've got a lot of flexibility for what we're doing when it comes to Nebula, but it would need to be done on a case-by-case basis. So what you're describing there probably could be done if we had the use case to support the R&D efforts required to do that. I personally don't know how much is in it, but if you've got a deal here or got a good opportunity, reach out to me, reach out to Tri, reach out to your salesperson, let us know. And we can always float it back to the R&D team and see if that's something we could support. So going forward here, talking about Nebula. So one of the cool things here is it allows you to do setup without unboxing. Basically, all Nebula devices have a QR code on the device itself. There is also that same QR code on the outside of the box. So if you're having the inventory shipped to your offices, before you ship them then onto your customer site, you simply whip out your mobile app, scan the QR code, assign it to your customer. And when it gets shipped out to your customer location, you simply plug it in, turn it on, and it'll automatically reach out to the cloud, see which customer owns it now or which customer site has it, and will automatically download the configuration from the cloud, as well as firmware updates and things like that. So because of that, everything gets up and running in just a few minutes. You can literally go from never having a Nebula account to having a working Nebula account with an access point offering hotspot guest access functionality, the entire process in less than 5 minutes. Nebula offers a number of wizards and default configurations in there, which make it really easy to get up and running with some basic configs. If you've been using Nebula a lot and you're using our Pro Pack, we've got the ability to clone existing customers, existing sites, so you don't have to reconfigure everything from scratch. And then again, if you do need to configure everything from scratch, we've got a number of different wizards that help get everything up and running. Nebula doesn't require any hardware or software extra. So there's no cloud keys, there's no wireless LAN controllers, there's no virtual machines that are required. You literally do everything through a web browser, through a public website, nebula.zycel.com. So one of the big benefits here is no matter where you are, if you've got a web browser, you've got access to all of your customers, all of their sites, and all of what's going on. Our mobile app will also give you a snapshot of what's going on each of your customer sites. On the wireless side of things, we have smart mesh functionality. So if an access point for some reason loses its wired connection, or maybe never has a wired connection, it will automatically switch to mesh mode and find another nearby AP that does have a working wired connection and automatically generate a mesh to be able to reach it. We offer full WPA enterprise, and with our Wi-Fi 6 APs, WPA 3 enterprise security. And we support 802.11r, K, and V for helping with fast roaming, quick handoffs, things like that. We've also got another of settings in there that we can mess with to help with roaming and things like that when it comes to older devices which don't support these standards. On the switch side of things, we have intelligent PoE where we monitor how much PoE draw is actually being used to free up budget to power other devices. We've got user-friendly ACL rules, VLAN configurations, loop guard, things like that. And all of our switches will virtually stack so you can configure ports across multiple switches simultaneously. So all of your clients and everything in there is all going to be handled through one interface. We make it really easy to see what's going on each of your customers, make it really easy for you to jump between your customers and between their sites. Just up here is showing you here, you can group your customers together. You can jump between individual organizations. You can jump between individual sites. This dashboard here is customizable to show you what you want to see in the order you want to see it. If you're using our gateways, we can break down what's going on the network by individual application for bandwidth usage, let you know who your customers are or who the users are that are eating up the bulk of that bandwidth. And from there, we drill into things. So we can go in there and we can see, what each of the clients are doing, when they were last connected, which access point they were connected to, which SSID, their signal strength, transmit rates, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this is all customizable. We can see over time what's been going on. So this is just showing you here some more insights as to what's going on. You can also see here we have Google Maps integration. So you can drag and drop equipment onto a physical Google map if you want to help you visualize where it is and where it's been deployed. Number of other features. We've got a more in-depth Nebula presentation coming up this Thursday, so feel free to join that if you want to learn a little bit more. So, and this is key here, this is free. Nebula, the core version of Nebula is free. Just about everything we've talked about comes with that free service. There is no limit to the number of devices that you can manage for free. No limit to the number of customers or sites that you can manage on the free version. There is also a paid version called ProPack, which gets you some more MSP type features. For the most part, it's focused on things that are more MSP natured, so more in-depth reports, alerts, unlocking some things like automatically generating topology views, giving you more advanced IGMP configuration, things like that. But for a lot of our customers, the free version is all they need. And again, there's no limits on the number of devices that can use that free version or the number of customers you can have in it. If you want to play with it, simply go to nebula.zycel.com, log in with our free demo account. And don't worry, it's actually printed on the login page. You don't need to see it here. And you'll be able to log in and play around with Nebula yourself. Give it a try. So moving on from Nebula, we'll talk a little bit about wireless products. So we've got a couple different technologies that you may not be familiar with. The first one is a number of our APs have something called dual optimized antennas. So basically your traditional access point is designed to be mounted centrally in the location on the ceiling and then cover sort of a round circular area of coverage. The problem is for whatever reason in some locations you can't mount your access points on the ceiling, you end up having to mount them on the walls. So what happens is the antenna ends up shooting its beam because it's designed to be, hung from a ceiling, but now it's tilted 90 degrees and mounted on the wall. So this round circle now is shooting most of its signal and coverage area up into the ceiling and down into the floor. So the way we've solved that is we've built in on these access points 2 different sets of antennas. One that's designed for your traditional ceiling mount and one that's designed for being mounted on a wall. So when you end up mounting your AP on the wall, you can switch it over, tell it, hey, you're in wall mode, and it'll change the antenna pattern to optimize the coverage based on being mounted on a wall versus on a ceiling. The other technology you'll run across, if you're familiar with Ruckus, you're probably already familiar with it, is smart antenna technology. So those APs that have smart antenna technology, it allows us to go through literally hundreds of different antenna patterns for each individual client and optimize the antenna coverage for each individual client, taking into account both where they are in relation to your access point, but also taking into account where other sources of RF interference come from. By doing this, we reduce interference. It allows us to put more devices on a single access point, or it allows us, in the cases of something like an expo hall, to put more APs in the same small area and reduce the interference that they're causing with each other. Gets us increased coverage area and reduces the amount of energy that's needed to be used to maintain speeds. So this is just showing here, this is your traditional access point like we talked about before. When you mount it on a ceiling, your traditional APs have this sort of circular umbrella antenna pattern coming out from the access point. If you're doing directional antennas, they have a focused, directional beam as to where they're looking at. So smart antenna instead, we add some interference over here, which would normally on a traditional access point would cause interference with the clients. With a smart antenna, we're able to go through hundreds of different antenna patterns and find the one that ignores where the interference is coming from and focuses just on the clients, maintaining that signal much better than you would otherwise. So a year or so ago, a few years ago, the University of Brescia in Italy, their networking group got together and decided to research claims made by us and Ruckus as far as what smart antenna does. And in their own tests, when they do real world simulations, smart antenna makes a huge difference when it comes to performance in a real world scenario where there are other sources of RF interference. So Wayne has a question here. Wayne is asking what models have smart antenna technology. The general rule is, with one exception, every one of our access points that has an S at the end of the model name has smart antenna built in. There's one model that doesn't have the S but does have smart antenna, and we will talk about it here briefly. The other thing to talk about just across all of our different access points is the way they're built. Even our cheap ones, even our sub $100 APs are all built this way. Basically, when dealing with our access point, there's 2 major causes of failure, right? We're dealing with solid state, so nothing's moving. So one of the major causes of failure over time is capacitors. Electrolytic capacitors are filled up with what's essentially salt water, and over time they can evaporate or leak or boil over. So all of our access points only use solid state capacitors that won't fail. The other cause of failure is just heat fatigue. You've got a bunch of chips in here generating a bunch of heat. Certain brands, Ubiquiti, don't even have vents to allow hot air out. So one thing you'll notice when you look at our access points, a lot of vents for the heat to come out, but also a big giant metal heat sink that sits on the back that helps draw the heat off the PCBA out of the chips and vent them out the back so they don't overheat and you don't end up with heat fatigue causing the chips to burn up or causing the solder joints to fail. The other thing that you'll see we do is we move our antennas and do not mount them directly on the PCBA. Even a $1,200 Ruckus AP has the antennas mounted directly on the PCBA. By moving them onto a shield that's located above the PCBA, it gets you just that much better receive sensitivity. So it's the difference between, a non-connection and a slow but reliable connection. So on to models, I'm not going to really go through them. Our Nebula Flex access points here are 1100 and 1300 series APs. These are designed primarily to go up against Ubiquiti and Netgear and stuff like that. These can all be managed standalone, or you can manage them in the cloud with Nebula. You can switch between modes. The NWA 1302 is purpose-built for hotel deployments, and it does have smart antenna in there, even though it doesn't indicate it by the model name. The NAP series of access points, these can only be used with Nebula, and these include 3 years of ProPack or 90 Nebula ProPack points out of the box. So out of the box, they'll come with that for you. And then our 5000 series and higher, these are primarily Nebula Flex Pro. So what that tells you is they can be used with Nebula, they can be used standalone, or they can be managed by one of our security gateways or dedicated wireless LAN controllers. These all include 1 year of Nebula ProPack out of the box. So, and just to highlight here, if you are looking for a local controller management, VPN series, USG series, ATP series all have built-in wireless LAN controllers on most models. What you'll see here is these little slash numbers. So this tells you here the USG 110 supports management of 2 APs out of the box, but can be expanded with one-time licenses to up to 34. On the higher end of things here, you can see the USG 2200 can be upgraded to support over 1,000 APs being managed through the built-in wireless LAN controller. So now we'll move on to our switches. So we've obviously got a ton of different switches out there. If you've ever looked at our website or pulled up the price list, you've seen it can get kind of confusing. So to make your life easier, I want to try to explain the naming because that'll tell you a lot about the switch. You will see the model name will start with a few letters. So if it starts with ES, you know that all ports are 100 megabits. If it starts with GS, all ports are 1 gigabit. If it is XS, it's telling you all ports on that switch are 10 gig. XGS tells you that there are 1 gig ports and 10 gig ports on the switch. And we don't really offer the MGS series here. I think we have like one model, but those are our Metro carrier switches. If it ends with P or HP, that's telling you that it supports PoE. So P is standard PoE, HP is PoE plus. And we do have some switches now that also support BT. I guess you want to call it high power plus, whatever name you want to call it. And if you see it ends with an F, it tells you it's a fiber switch. So all of the ports will be fiber based. We do support with our most of our 10 gig switches support stacking. So those will be supported together with a special 10 gig direct attach cable to connect those switches together. For those switches that don't support physical stacking, we do support virtual stacking on most of our switches. And most of our switches, when it comes to PoE, are going to support the ability to do both classification-based PoE and intelligent PoE. So we'll talk a little bit more about intelligent PoE. So basically, the way PoE normally works is devices are classified into one of 4 classes. With BT now there's, I think, 6 classes. And they basically say, this is what class I am, please reserve this much power based on my class. The problem is some of those classes are quite large with a huge variety of draw. So you can end up in a situation where your device is requiring, based on classification, 30 watts of power, but it really only needs 16 watts of power. But unfortunately, with classification-based PoE, the budget is reduced based on that classification. So we have the ability to intelligently monitor the PoE, see what peak PoE is for each device, and then only reserve the power based on actual usage. So you can see here, we've got a camera AP. It's a class 4 device, so it'll reserve 30 watts of power. But in reality, it's only needing 16 watts of power. So by using the intelligence here, you can put a lot more devices onto that switch using that same 320 watt power consumption. If we were to use class-based PoE, you would need a 600 watt switch to be able to power the same number of devices. And what I'm just showing you here real quick is we've got a lot of different switches that support PoE, starting at 60 watts of PoE power budget, jumping up to a full kilowatt of power budget. So based on what you need, we've got a switch that does it. On the lower end side of things here, we've got our unmanaged switches, the GS 1005s, the 1100s. Then we get up into the 1200 series. The 1200 series gives you some very basic web management and VLAN configuration. We have our new XGS 1010 and 1210, which just launched like a month ago. So the 1010 is unmanaged. The 1210 has basic web management, but these support multi-gig. So you've got fiber-based ports here. They can support 10G. You've also got some 2.5G ports. Going up to the 1900 series, these are more of our rack-mounted type switches, higher port concentrations. So these give you a little bit more functionality through the web management than the 1200 series does. We've got the XS 1920 series. We've got our GS 1920 V2 series. So these can be managed by Nebula if you'd like to. Our XGS 1930 series, these can also be managed by Nebula. And this is where we start getting the full functionality web management with the 1920 series. We have our NSW series. These are dedicated and can only be used with Nebula. And these include 1 year of Nebula Pro Pack out of the box. And then our 2200 series is where we have full web management and we also have full CLI basis. So if you like to do scripts or prefer to manage in a CLI, 2200 series and higher offers that. We've also got a dedicated 1300 series, which was designed specifically for the surveillance market. So for people that are deploying IP cameras. So, you know, it's designed specifically to handle some of the challenges, the high PoE power budget required to power a lot of cameras, high power draw for some of those high resolution PTZ cameras. The fact that sometimes you need to run really long Ethernet runs and some other stuff like that. So the 1300s are our unmanaged switches. So these guys here can support PoE and data at 250 meters. As you know, traditional Ethernet only supports 100 meters. So by dropping the speed to 10 megabits, we can go ahead and send data and power up to 250 meters. And it works with any device. So there's nothing special that has to be done on the other device. Any Ethernet-based device should be compatible with this. And you turn this on and off on a port basis using dip switches. Our 1350 series offers web management, offers the same 250 meter range. We offer continuous PoE. So even if the switch is rebooting for some reason, such as doing a configuration change or doing a firmware update, we will continue to offer power to the connected devices so the connected devices themselves don't go offline or don't have to then reboot when the power comes back on. We've got a web interface that we can use to monitor the connected devices, let you know the speed of their connection, let you know how much PoE power they're drawing, what the device is, what the IP is for management functionality, and we give you the ability to power cycle the device that way through there. We have an automatic recovery mode. So we can ping the device or use LLDP to monitor it. And if we notice the device stops responding, we can automatically reboot the device or set an alarm in the logs. And this is fully configurable to how it works. So you can say, hey, wait a minute, this camera needs 3 minutes to reboot up. So we'll know not to restart monitoring until we've given it enough time to reboot up. We can set how many times here it will reboot the device before giving up, etc. And while this may be something that's designed for cameras, this also, of course, works with other PoE devices such as IP phones or access points. And we've bumped up the electrostatic discharge functionality on these so they can handle a little bit rougher environment. We can send you a copy of this slide. Just reach out to your salesperson and they can give this to you. It's just showing you the comparison of it. I think this is also up on our website. On the accessory side of things, we do offer SFP modules, 1 gig modules, 10 gig modules. We also offer a number of different cables there, such as our DAC connections. Just want to make you aware that those are available. So that ends today's presentation. If there are any questions, let me know. And I will be happy to answer them for you. Just send them in via the Q&A box. If not, thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this beneficial. I know it was a little bit rough being my first time using the slide deck, but hopefully everything's in there. Hopefully you've gotten some ideas or some products you'd like to learn a lot more about. Feel free to reach out to your salesperson and take a look at our other webinars that we are doing. We're doing a lot more dedicated webinars. Like I said, I've got a Nebula webinar on Thursday. I know Tri just did a remote work webinar, and I think we've got some more stuff coming up on the security series in the future. I've got a full access point webinar coming up beginning of May. My email is right there on the screen. Feel free to reach out to me directly offline. So Samuel's asking for the future roadmap for CPE. We're on the channel side here, so we don't do a lot with CPE. That's mainly the SP team, which is a different set of a different team that handles that. And there are different products that are available through the channel versus through the SP. So if you're a service provider that's dealing with our SP team, you'll want to reach out to your salesperson on that side. In general, through the channel here, I don't have a roadmap of anything particularly interesting new coming along. You can check our website. We've got some basic EMG series that are out there, and a few models of ADSL and VDSL modem that are available through the channel. You can reach out to your salesperson if you have a question on which models are there. They can help you out with that. Any other questions, guys? I also want to draw your attention. We do have user forums right now. So if you go to, I think it's forum.zycel.com, you can get to them. Our forums, unlike some of our competition where it's just users helping each other, are monitored by our R&D team and our product development teams, and they do respond to messages there. So if you have a question about something, have a product suggestion, anything like that, feel free to post it there. It will be seen by the people that need to see it. So I'm not getting any more questions in. So if you're in the middle of typing something up, go ahead and highlight it and copy it. You can just email me directly. It's seanr@zycel.com, and I can answer you there. Norbert, if you're still on, please send me an email because I don't have, this doesn't show me your contact information. So I don't know your email or your phone number, and I don't know who your salesperson is. So you can just reach out to me, seanr@zycel.com, and I can push them through to you. So you can get that follow-up that you were asking for earlier. But otherwise, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. I hope I see a few of you here on Thursday when we talk about Nebula in more in depth. Thanks, guys.